Inside Obstacle News. Welcome to Inside Obstacle News. I'm your host, Dirty Getty, and this evening on the show we'll have Margaret Schlachter of Dirt in Your Skirt and Paul from mudandadventure.com. Later in the show, our WOD Hacker segment this week is the Hiccup, a 10-count burpee that is more than just a burpee. It will have you saying, "What the fitness?" So, let's get started with our interviews. First, we've got Margaret Schlachter of Dirt in Your Skirt. This is Inside Obstacle News with your host, Dirty Getty, and this evening we'll be talking to Margaret Schlachter. So, before we get started, I just want to say Happy New Year, and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. One of the first things I wanted to ask is just tell me a little bit about yourself and your athletic background.
Well, in college I played 2 Division III varsity sports. I was an alpine ski racer and I was a lacrosse goalie. But up until 2010, I had just been, for the last 5-7 years-ish, been a ski coach and an alpine ski coach and lacrosse coach. So I kind of put my own athletic endeavors aside and had just focused on coaching the next generation.
So, why obstacle racing? Like, what got you started in that?
I'd say about Facebook. Spartan Race started in Vermont, and I was living in Killington at the time, and one of my friends had liked them on Facebook. She didn't want to go do the race, but she just liked that they were giving money to one of the hospitals in the area, so she liked them. Through that, I Google searched, and, as we all do, and found this race, and said, I haven't done a race in a long time, and, well, it was only supposed to be 2 miles, and I said, I can
yeah, right.
walk 2 miles. If I can't run 2 miles, I can walk 2 miles. And there's obstacles, so then you don't have to run the whole thing straight, so
right.
You can, take a break. That was my initial idea, is that the obstacles were going to be the breaks from the running. So I went to the race, I did it, it was a lot of fun, and then it kind of steamrolled into probably half a dozen races the first year, and then half a dozen races, maybe a dozen races the second year, and then this past year was my 3rd year racing, and I don't know, it was like 20 races this year. I don't know, there's too many races to count almost this year.
So obviously you got the bug pretty quick, but at what point did you feel that you could be really competitive with some of the other women?
I think that I didn't know I could be competitive for a while. The first year I wasn't competitive at all. I was maybe finishing in the top 25% in the races, which, if you equate that out to number-wise, that's finishing like 150th. I think the tipping point of the whole thing was really the Vermont Beast in 2011.
Okay.
That was, I came in 3rd in that race, and it was a big podium finish, and then 7 days later, I did a Warrior Dash, and finished 2nd in my age group and 6th overall out of, I think it was like 5,000 women for the day. So,
it's pretty good.
All of a sudden it was like, wow, maybe I can really kind of seriously do this. And then fast forward to this season, and it's just sort of steamrolled, and I think my worst finish this past season, I think, was a 13th place or so. But otherwise, it was a lot of 1st, 2nds, and 4ths, 5ths, that sort of thing.
That's awesome. Now, what's your best finish, in the overall for women?
My best finish that I've done, I've finished 2nd for women a handful of times this year. If you include me in with the men, I've finished, I think I might have won top 20 among the men as well.
Awesome.
But I'm not sure.
That's awesome.
I have to go all the numbers.
So how did you get started with your blog? Was it the blog first and then you started doing the OCR, or did you start racing and then realize, hey, I could write about this?
Well, it all sort of stems out of that Tough Mudder experience. I knew that when I qualified for World's Toughest Mudder that I needed something to hold myself accountable. I'd always had coaches growing up. I'd always had, training plans just handed to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I have no coach, I have no training plan, I'm making this up as I go, I've got to hold myself accountable. So I was like, well, I'll start this blog. I would post on Facebook in the morning what I was going to do, and then the blog, if you go back and read the early ones, it's like, today I ran 2 miles, here's the GPS readout. It's more obvious to what it is now, but that's all it was. It was basically an online training journal for me that held myself accountable. And then it was crazy is, first I think it was just my mom that read it. And then as it sort of, people started to latch onto it, and they wanted to see what I was doing, and they latched onto the story of, like, this whole build-up and whatnot, and so it just sort of kept growing, and then as it's where it is now, it's a little bit more than just about, today I ran. About the whole experience of the journey than just about statistics and numbers.
That's awesome. So, so how hard was it making that kind of final leap to doing the blog and the obstacle racing full time? Like when you decided, hey, I'm quitting my regular job and all that.
It's definitely a huge leap of faith. It was I was working 8 to 10 plus hours a day at my job, and then I was going home and working 5 or 6 hours on the blog, and then at that point it was a full website, and at that point we were selling merchandise, and so I was just getting torn into two worlds, and I'm 29 years old, and I can always go back to working in education. I worked in education for almost 7 or 8 years, so I can go back to that anytime I want to, but it's not very often that you have a chance to sort of jump into something and be part of something that's new and exciting and big. So kind of made that decision, and I told my parents around July 4th, on the 4th of July I was with them, and I said, I'm going to do this, and they were really supportive, and they said that we figured it was going to come at some point. And so that was sort of when it all happened.
Awesome. Now, I was looking at your 2013 calendar on your Dirt in Your Skirt website, and it looked pretty dominated by Spartan. Are you doing any other races like Superhero Scramble, World's Toughest Mud, or anything like that?
Currently, I'm not doing any Superhero Scrambles. Now, living on the West, those are all based in the East, so
sure.
It's, I have to pick and choose where I'm going. I probably am going to end up doing the Iron Warrior Dash.
Okay.
That one it intrigues me.
Yeah. I'm curious about that one.
Yeah. So World's Toughest Mudder, right now it's not on the calendar.
Okay.
My biggest really long distance races is I'm doing the Fuego y Agua survival run. I'm slated right now to do the Copper Canyons 50 miler. But that's really close to Fuego, so that might have to get pulled off the schedule. And then in August, I'm sort of capping off this year with it's a 7-day, 250-kilometer stage race called Racing the Planet. That'll be in Iceland. So,
awesome. Now go back to the Fuego y Agua race really quick, the survival run. How are you training for that? Like, it sounded on the website like totally ridiculous, and you will not finish, like was their tagline, I think.
Yeah. It's a lot of running, a lot of trail running through snow right now here up in the mountains. And then, I started doing CrossFit when I moved out here, so continue to do CrossFit to build the strength. Otherwise, it's an 18-hour race. It has a start, it has a finish, and just ready. I probably do some swimming beforehand because I've heard there's going to be some swimming involved, and but I've always been pretty proficient at swimming.
Like, what kind of shoe do you like to race in, and why?
I've really settled on the Innovates. The Cross Talon 180s are really, they're the red shoe that you see at the starting line that a lot of people have. That one to me has been the best shoe, that it drains the best and it's got the best traction. The nubs underneath, for some they think it's too much, but for me I like that extra grip, and I've never had a problem getting out of a muddy pit. So that's my favorite shoe. For a really longer distance thing, I'll pop into like an Innovate, the 245, the Trail Rock, which is the new shoe.
Okay, so you're obviously, really healthy and got your nutrition nailed down. What would you say is like your favorite cheat food?
Oh, I love pizza.
Pizza?
It's no joke. I love pizza. I will eat pizza before a race. I love pizza. We try to eat pretty clean in our house. We try to be pretty healthy here. But I think that you also need to eat a little bit about what your body's craving.
Now, when you said, when you said we, is there a specific reason why you moved out to Utah?
Yeah, I moved out to Utah. I had my boyfriend and I moved in together, and we live out here. And he's from here, and he's got a brother that you've already mentioned once. I actually met him at the death race. He was crewing for his brother, who happens to be Hobie Call, and then we dated for a while across the cross country, and my job's a little more mobile, so I'm in Utah now.
Cool. Now,
it's some great. I live at an elevation that was the top of Killington now, and I can, be up in 9,000 plus foot peaks to be training on in a matter of 10-15 minutes from my house.
Did it take you a while to get used to that altitude?
I think I'm still getting used to it somewhat. I'm pretty used to it now. But it's definitely changed. The trails are different out here. The terrain is different out here. It's a new place, but it's kind of neat to explore some new trails and new places.
Thanks for being on. Is there any other like shout outs to fans or anybody else that you want to say thanks to that's helped you out in your journey?
Well, I have a fantastic set of sponsors, as Gaspar Nutrition, as you already said. There's also CWX Conditioning Wear, and then two small companies that are both Vermont-based. That's Motion Mate, it's an energy tea, and Garuka Bars. And then, I really have to thank Ute CrossFit, who I train at all the time. I'm pretty much there. They let me go in when I want, and I train there, and so they've been great. Otherwise, thanks to everybody that continues to read the blog and go to the website and buy merchandise and and buy spear kits and whatnot. And it's been a great 2012, and we're looking forward to an even better 2013.
All right, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Anytime. I'd love to come back again.
All right, we'll see you later.
Thanks.
That was Margaret Schlachter from Dirt in Your Skirt. Thanks, Margaret, for being on the show. Next up, we've got Paul from mudandadventure.com. All right, here with me now is Paul, and he is the founder of mudandadventure.com, the best calendar there is on the internet for finding the latest mud and obstacle races. So welcome to the show, Paul.
Hey, thanks, Joel. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Just a little bit to get to know you. What's your athletic background and kind of like your day job?
Day job I don't really talk about too much. It is a full-time job. My athletic background is basically just sport for enjoyment. I've never been a professional athlete or anything like that, or even competitive. I did mountain bike competitively for a short time in college, but mostly running for 5Ks, just to test my own physical, ability. Never really super fast or anything. Got into obstacle racing because it was a little bit more fun than running, and I have, I think, a little bit more upper body strength than I do the runner's build, so kind of allowed me to catch up and beat some people that particularly just run.
Right. Okay, and so what else about obstacle running do you love so much?
I just love climbing things. I just like pull-ups all the time on my own anyway. I live here in New York, so climbing scaffolding and stuff like that, so just a lot of fun.
Do you do any parkour or Ninja Warrior type stuff?
No, they actually asked me to audition for them down in Miami, but it just didn't work out with work. It was just too short notice to get vacation.
Okay. And then, so mostly do you run for fun or do you run competitively? What's your best finish so far?
The best finish personally was for the New Jersey Spartan race, the Super.
Okay.
Back in September. It was also my first Spartan race. I put together a team. I think we had like 7 guys, and we came in second for that Saturday for the team.
Oh, that's awesome.
I came first out of the team, and then I think for the men came in like 50 something, or the whole race I came in like 50 something. So.
Well, still, yeah, that's.
But, you know, I'm not an elite racer or anything like that.
But it sounds like you're, you know, enjoy going fast at least.
I enjoy to continually push myself in my own pace. That was a good race where, you know, I had the right nutrition that day, and the actual race, the environment suited me. A lot of uphill climbing, where just living in New York on the 5th floor and always climbing up and down the subway stairs, elevators. That was to my advantage and my liking versus the flat runners. You know, if it was a flat course, I would have been lost in the dust.
Yeah, absolutely. Besides shoes, like what would you say is your most important or your favorite piece of gear that you train with or race with?
So far, all my races I've done in triathlon shorts, just because they handle the water really well. There's a little pocket in the back. I've been rocking this brand called Core. They boast having, you know, special fabrics that allow for better performance as far as improving VO2 max. Whether it really works or it's a placebo effect, I dig their stuff.
Now, are those kind of like compression type gear, or is it just specifically like tri shorts?
They're compression.
Okay.
It's more for a workout gear, just a good workout. I do see a lot of people, most people wearing just running shorts. I might try that down in Miami in a couple weeks for the Superhero Scramble.
And so tell me a little bit more about mudandadventure.com and why you got started with that.
Okay. I started it, the idea came to me over Christmas break last year, so exactly a year now. I had a running blog that I no longer maintain, but the one page that got the most hits on it was a running calendar of all my upcoming races. That got more hits than any of my blog posts, and I'm like, hey, people actually using that page as a resource when I was living down in South Florida of all the races down there. So I started a South Florida race calendar, which did all right. I don't maintain it too much anymore. And then last Christmas, you know, I knew I'd already done a few mud runs. I really liked it. Been doing trail runs for a few years now. Guy down in Florida, Marlon, I'm not sure if I want to butcher his name or not, jail. Has been putting on trail runs down there for a while. I'm trying to think of the name of the series. Hopefully it'll come to me. So I always liked it, and I'm like, hey, nobody's got a calendar just for mud runs or obstacle races. Let me be the first, and I got on it.
Now, about how many hours per week? Because you said you work full time, so you're not. You know, I just did an interview with Margaret, and she has completely devoted her life now to like Spartan and obstacle racing, and she has her blog and everything like that. But you said you maintain a full-time job besides this. How much time do you put into it?
It varies. I've actually taken like all my vacation time and used that to work on the site. I've told my employer I work 20 hours a week, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
on the side business.
And now, how is mudandadventure.com, how is it better than some of the other calendars? I know I have my reasons, but I want to hear like what you feel sets it apart.
All right, obviously completely biased because it's my baby. I think it's the fact of how I have the information presented. You know, you have the race logos, and each event is created on its own page. So as far as appearing in the search engines, each event being on my website stands a really good chance of being found, because it's not just an entry within a page. Each event has its own page on my site. But also from a user standpoint, just navigating, you can click on it and search by state or by country. And as far as the U.S., there's a map, so you can click on Florida or New York, and just hovering over that state, you can see how many mud runs or obstacle races there are for that state.
Yeah, I was doing a little research preparing for my interview with you, and you know, even though I'm kind of biased because I'm your friend, I just wanted to see what other calendars were out there and how they looked. And I got to be honest, the user experience is, you know, is lacking in a lot of the other sites. And like you said, the maps, the hovering, a lot of it just creates a much more easier way to search. And, you know, I live in Pennsylvania, so I just click on Pennsylvania, and now I know pretty much every race that's going to be in Pennsylvania for 2013, and so it's really useful.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of 2013, tell me, like, what are your big races? What are you gonna do this year for your obstacle courses?
Let's just say that I want to do all of the U.S. Spartan Beasts because they're so valued, you know, for the points.
Okay.
If you want to do a Spartan race and focus on, you know, accruing as much points as you can for the standings, the Beasts offer the most points from what I heard. I'm not sure if they're going to keep it the same way for 2013. But, so in a couple weeks, I'm going to the Superhero Scramble in Miami.
Okay.
Well, I know they're trying to expand, and I want to see whether they're incurring any kind of growth pains or not. I did one in Miami. It was in the Alita River State Park, and I loved it a lot. It was a lot of fun. And this is going to be at a different location, Miami. So just want to see if they can keep it going, keep the same momentum going, or at least match the good time that I had at that first event with them. Then in February, I don't know how I got accepted, but doing the survival race in Nicaragua, the Fuego y Agua, which is a 70-kilometer survival race. But from what I heard, and I'm not sure if I'm interpreted right, if you miss an obstacle or fail to do it correctly, there might be some additional mileage tacked on. So.
Wow. Okay, I haven't heard that about it yet, but it makes sense. You know, they're trying to make it, you know, extremely competitive. I believe Margaret's doing that race as well.
Yeah. I think Margaret is trained better for it. I saw her on Facebook that she did a marathon the other day, and I'm sure it's not her first. The longest I've ever raced was the Texas Spartan Beast this past December, and I tacked on an extra mile, so I ran like 14-point-something miles. So my only goal for Fuego y Agua is to run at my own pace, which is going to be super slow, and just tie at the finish line.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, any other big, like you trying to qualify for World's Toughest Mudder, or any, you know, you trying to go back and do Vermont Ultra Beast or anything like that?
Yeah, I already signed up for the Vermont Beast. I haven't seen any indication that the Ultra Beast has been announced yet.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it's going to be in Vermont in September again, or whether they're going to move it to another state. But I'm basically focusing on Spartan Race because they seem to really make the... They've already established themselves as, you know, the sport, the circle. If you really want to do multiple races in a series. Tough Mudder, at this point I can't afford to tack on another race series and focus on it, so right now I'm with Spartan Race.
Excellent. Now, do you, I think when I saw a picture with you and Matt B. Davis at the World's Toughest Mudder, did you have a press pass to be there as a spectator, or did they give out press pass for, like, races?
I actually bought a spectator pass, and then when he got there, they had a media tent. And I'm like, so I didn't really even have to buy the spectator pass. So that's my first admission or registration fee that Tough Mudder's gotten from me.
Okay.
Maybe one day they'll get a race from me.
Oh, I'm sorry, a challenge, right? A challenge?
Oh, yeah, excuse me. I don't know. I'll just call it a Tough Mudder.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Whatever these guys want to call themselves. But, yeah, so I ended up getting a media pass, which, you know, that was quite appreciative of them. And, you know, I wish I could have stayed there for the full event. It was actually pretty cool to see. It actually made me want to do a Tough Mudder so I could qualify for the World's Toughest Mudder. Just not even to do it competitively, but just to partake and see how good I could do it and see if I can last the full 24 hours for whatever distance.
Sweet. Well, Paul, I appreciate all your time with me this evening, and the audience, I'm sure, enjoys hearing about your story. And thank you again. Everybody, make sure to check out mudandadventure.com, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Hey, thank you, Joel. Much success to you and your new site in 2013.
All right, thanks, Paul. That was Paul from mudandadventure.com. Thanks, Paul, for being on the show. And anybody who needs to find when their next race is going to be, check out mudandadventure.com for the most comprehensive obstacle racing calendar on the web. Next up, we have our WOD Hacker segment for this week, which is the Hiccup. It's like a 10-count burpee that promises to be more side-splitting than the burpee itself. Let's check it out. With the burpee getting lots of press in the obstacle community these days, we want to see if there's something even more challenging. People are upping their game with things like the Burpee Mile. Juliana Sproles recently did Ringing in the New Year with burpees. So let's check out the 10-count Hiccup and see what you think. Step 1. From a standing position, drop to a squat with your feet on the ground and your hands on the floor. Step 2. Kick your feet out into a plank position. Step 3. Lower to the floor with your stomach down. Step 4. Raise arms and legs in a skydive maneuver. Step 5. Bring arms and legs back down and do a push-up. Step 6. Bring your knees back up to your chest into the squatting position. Step 7. Jump into the air and grab a bar above your head. Step 8. Do a pull-up. Step 9. Bring your knees up to your chest. And step 10. Lower your knees and drop back to the floor. So that's your 10-count Hiccup. The ultimate burpee. It's going to work all kinds of muscles in your body, not just your regular muscles like triceps and chest and core, but it's also going to work your back and your biceps. Unfortunately, you will need a bar for this maneuver, but most people can find a pull-up bar somewhere around. So check it out. The Burpee Hiccup 10-count burpee. Burpee, burpee, burpee. Hiccup. Well, that's our show for this evening. Thanks for watching Inside Obstacle News. I want to thank my special guests, Margaret Schlachter from Dirt in Your Skirt and Paul from mudandadventure.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and also on Facebook. You can also check the channel for an extended interview with Margaret Schlachter. There was too much to put into the show this evening, but we had a great time talking about all kinds of really cool obstacle-related stuff. So check that out, and also the WOD Hacker segment on the Hiccup. I'm your host, Dirty Getty. You gotta ask yourself, do you feel muddy punk? Well, do ya? Inside Obstacle News.